economic consultants for California's first in the nation's Reparations Task Force recently presented calculations addressing past harms for the descendants of slaves and what it might look like. Black people stated that reparations would mean better for our children. One person even told Market Watch, while others say it would be a game changer for paying debts, buying homes, and building generational wealth. For California's estimated 1.8 million black residents who are descendants of enslaved people, reparations could allow many of them to finally buy a house, pay off student loans, and try to build generational wealth and more. So if California becomes the first state in the nation to provide possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars in reparations to its qualifying black residents, it would mean a significant boost. And it would mean better for our children. It would secure some stability, and we could have something to leave our kids. They won't have to be robbing Peter to pay Paul like we have been doing forever. Market Watch talked with Ms. Brown and other black Californians who are at different stages in their lives, and they all said reparations would help them in some way. But I'm not going to get into all the people who Market Watch talked to. I want to get into the economic consultants for the state and see what they had to say. Economic consultants for the state's Reparations Task Force, established by law and the first of its kind at the state level, recently presented calculations for certain scenarios that include figures amounting to hundreds of thousands of dollars in reparations for each California resident who can prove they are the descendant of an enslaved person. And among those figures, we're going to go down the list of how the payment would be paid off and what it would be paid for. It says reparations will be paid based on the average national racial wealth gap in the sum of $358,293. That's number one. Number two, it says reparations would be paid based on the value of certain state-level harms in the sum of $223,239 for housing discrimination and redlining, and $124,678 for the disproportionate mass incarceration, and $127,266 per year of life expectancy for health harms because of the health care disparities and other factors. Reparations will also be paid based on a hybrid model that would take into account both on the national racial wealth gap and the state level harms. The task force would determine on what percentage of the national racial wealth gap amount California should make a down payment on. Additional dollar figures could be coming. Task force chairperson Kamala Moore told Market Watch that there might be even more requests from the economic consultants to come up with further monetary reparations between now and December the 14th and 15th, when the task force is scheduled to hold its next public meeting in Oakland, California. Among the things the task force will discuss over those 2 days, according to the agenda, would determine the time frames of harms, eligibility requirements, and how reparations would be measured and paid. Family. First and foremost, big shouts to Tariq Nasheed, Foundational Black Americans, that whole movement, getting that thing rolling. Definitely shout out to the State of Reparations Task Force. Definitely shout out to them. They trying to get this thing rolling. So if we're anywhere around and you're in California, you can make it down to Oakland on December the 14th and 15th. Look it up and see exactly where it's at and see if you can make it there. You know what I'm saying? It might be a good thing to make it to and see what's really being said. It says the task force publicized its first report over the summer, and it has until next June to submit its second and final report to the state legislature. The state's lawmakers will consider the task force's recommendations and could possibly write legislation on what type of and how much in reparations black residents should receive. We're moving this thing. This thing is moving. This thing has legs. It has legs, that mean it can walk. It could run. It could jump. So we have to, as a collective, jump on this thing. As Tariq Nasheed said, we got to get on code and help push this thing so that we can get our just due. That's what we definitely have to do. So to get our just due, it's going to take each and every one of us to be involved in the whole movement. I don't know if you guys are privy to what's been going on. You have a lot of people, detractors I call them, that's going against the whole reparations movement. And these are black people too. Some of them are considered foundational black Americans themselves. But they're actually fighting against the movement of black people being paid reparations for what happened to their family. And that's a sad thing. We can understand the other groups fighting against it, but some of our own are fighting against it, and I'm not going to call no names. And some of our own are not even saying, hey, we're going to ride with this thing because it's in California, it's not over here. No, this is just where we're going to birth this thing out of. Just like the Black Panther movement. Every movement is based out of somewhere, and you just have to jump on that ball when it's rolling by, and we have to jump on it. We can't sit back and just do nothing, especially when we have a person like Tariq Nasheed and these other people that got the ball rolling. We have a whole task force, a reparations task force, you hear me? It's a whole reparations task force out here that's getting this thing rolling. So if you don't have to be foundational black American, but you still have to ride with the cause. See, that's the problem. We think that we have to be a part of an organization to ride with a righteous cause. This is a righteous cause, black people. So you need to ride with it because it's a righteous cause for black people. And also in this article that I'm reading, it gets a little deeper than this. And I'm going to go through some of it. I'm not going to read what some of the people say they would do with the money, but I do want to read what a teacher from the Bay Area said, how the money could help them. But he gives some stats of different things like black home ownership. Says Dante King, a 46-year-old, a lifelong resident of the Bay Area who teaches African American studies as a guest at the University of California in San Francisco. He teaches a course at the Mayo Clinic and has worked in human resources doing diversity, equity, and inclusion work. He also self-published a book titled The 400-Year Holocaust, White America's Legal, Psychopathic, and Sociopathic Black Genocide and the Revolt Against Critical Race Theory. He says reparations could be a game changer for people like myself who still suffer from being discriminated against. He said he was the first in his family to go to college. He has debt from his doctoral degree and is no longer a homeowner. He will use the money to pay off his loans and buy a house again. He also hopes to be able to leave an inheritance for his nephew. This could change the lives of so many people. I know the previous 4 or 5 generations, the discrimination they faced, even after slavery, set them up to be in the predicament they're in today, he said. And he gave his stats. He said the black home ownership rate in the state in 2019 was 36.8%, according to the Census Bureau American Community Survey, compared with 63.2% for whites, 60.2% for Asians, and 44.1% for Latinos. And black families in California earn 60 cents for every dollar that white families earn, according to a Public Policy Institute of California analysts. Earlier this year, based on American Community Survey data, the PPIC cited factors such as disparities in education, job opportunities, and incarceration, along with discrimination in the labor market. And this is the census. This is not his word. According to the census, black people are on the bottom as far as home ownership. That's bad. Look at the disparities that we face. The disparities are in education, job opportunities, and incarceration, along with discrimination in the labor market. So that means we're going to be fighting to get a job. It's going to be hard to get a job. You're going to be incarcerated more. Why? Because you're probably most likely to say, man, I got to get it how I live. In education, you're going to have the worst schools. See? So this thing is making sense, people. This is why we have to jump on it and follow the ball. We have to get on code. I got to use Tariq's word because it makes sense. We have to get on code as a collective because it only makes sense. We can't fight against each other or we're going to lose a battle that we're trying to win, especially right now. Especially right now, while the ball is rolling, while this thing is hitting major news. This comes from Yahoo that sent me to Market Watch. So this thing is hitting front page news, people. So you got to jump on it. You can't be out here lacking. Everybody that see this video needs to share the video, link the video, tell your friend, tell your family, share this video. Tell them, read this article for yourself so you can gain some strength and say, know what, I got to get on this. You have to beat the drum. You got to blow the fucking horn. You got to let the trumpets blow. You can't sit out here and let this thing be a moment and not a movement, especially while the car is already moving. You don't jump out the car while it's moving. You stay in there and you enjoy the ride. So we have to get in the car and ride this thing out, people. We can't let this just do pass us, you know? And I was going to read some of the people that left their comments to this article, but I'm not, because we know what they going to be fat-mouthing about. And needless to say, this article first came out on October the 28th of 2022, and it got press, but we didn't give it legs. This is an updated version. According to Market Watch, they say this thing was first published October the 28th of 2022 at 1:47 p.m. Eastern Time. And now it's updated December the 3rd, 2022 at 10:01 a.m. Eastern Time. And we know how media works. They hide shit. They only give you what you want to hear. No shot to nobody, but we'd rather give you some high-profile news about entertainers getting killed instead of you getting news about something that could help the collective. It's almost like we fall asleep on what's really real, but we're awoke to what's fake. So we have to get behind this thing, people. Get on the FBA movement. You don't have to put FBA on your shirt and claim yourself FBA as a position, but we understand what FBA is saying. Foundational Black American is the same as somebody that's a descendant of an enslaved person. So we need to stop with all the word shenanigans first and foremost. See, people want to play word games with you, right? Oh, no, I ain't FBA. I'm this, that, and the third. But you know what FBA is representing? It's representing descendants of enslaved people. So that means everybody across this country that believes that they're a descendant of an enslaved person should be getting this message from somebody, and they should be sharing this message and should be letting everybody know that we stand with the movement. We stand with our ancestors. And with that, I'm going to say this is the new Zenu. North, east, west, south, unite from every alley in Cali, intersection and back street. Subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up on your way out the door.
Star Child, I never
seen the sunshine like this.
never
Never seen